So once we have identified the window, the right one through which the light passes, and then we know that it is just the apt spot for taking the photos, and now we have to move forward to setting up the photo spot, okay, the stage. Now for that we need a table that is quite good enough. The size of the table that I am going to use in this lesson to show you is a 2 feet by a 2¼ feet approximately. But it is good enough that if you use a maybe 3 feet by a 2 feet, 3 feet in width and then 2 feet in depth. Okay, so a table of that size, a little bigger is fine as well, but not smaller. Okay, and that table should be there, and you need a support at the back. Now if you know, by luck, if you have a window and then you have a wall very next to the window, then the wall is going to support the backdrop, the one that is going to be at the back of the cake. Now if you do not have such a support, then you need something that can stay behind that table and hold the backdrop, so it is not going to fall down. You need a support. So whatever a material or a backdrop that we are going to keep is going to be supported so it doesn't fall back. Now what materials we are going to use? So we are going to build that particular spot, and there are 3 important things that we need, which is the bottom backdrop, okay, and backdrop. Bottom backdrop is going to be on the table itself, and the backdrop is going to be against a wall or a support which is going to be on the outer end of the table, and this is going to serve as that particular stage. Now we are going to have the light either passing through the right side or the left side, and the cake is going to be in the middle. Now if the light is passing through the right side and it falls on the cake, now we are going to have a good amount of shadow of that particular cake falling on the other side. Now too much shadow of the cake is not good in a photograph, so we have to have something here which I call it a reflector, and that is the term used everywhere else as well. So you need a reflector here, so a sun's light passes on this side, the cake is in the middle, and you need a reflector right opposite to the direction in which the sun's light falls. And this reflector could be a mirror or a whiteboard or a thermocol sheet or a sheet in which you have stuck aluminum foil. I'm going to show these variations now in this lesson. And when you have such a board which is in white color or a mirror or an aluminum foil, and that is going to reflect the light that is falling on it, and it is going to throw that light back onto the cake. So that part which is going to be like really dark and is shadow side is also going to be lit back by the support of a reflector here. So you have the good amount of light falling on the cake on the right side. For me, the window is on the right side. If it is on the left side, so you're going to swap this logic. So when the light falls on one side, it is the really bright side, and the other side is going to be shadow based, but too much shadow is not good. So to avoid that, we are going to have a reflector and then reflect that back on the cake, and so the shadow on the bottom is reduced. However, that one side is going to be a bit dull, and that drama is what is going to make your cakes look really very beautiful. And now let's get on to actually setting up the stage. So we are just going to set up the stage for the cake photography. You can see I have the materials here, and that is the plywood board, and it is 6 mm plywood board because we don't want it like too thick, and that is a white mica covered plywood board. So that is the ideal one for us to have, and there are 2 sizes. So this one that I am holding is a 2 feet by a 4 feet, and 4 feet is the width I want to place for the stage. Okay, and this 2 feet is ideal because we don't want too much space here, because we should be able to go near the table and reach out to the back of the backdrop as well. But if you want it a little bigger, then maybe you could go for 2½ feet and maybe not more than that, because having a 3 feet depth is difficult for you to be right in front of it and then move towards the back. Okay. So I have the other one as well here, which is a 4x4 that I am going to use for the back of the backdrop. But right now I am just going to place this 2x2 on the table. I mean, this is a 2x4 that I am going to place it on the table. Now the table by itself is a 2 feet wide table, right? And that is like a 4 feet wide table. So We just need to get this table moved a little bit from the window. This extra space is needed, so it will position the 2 by 4 with board. I'm just going to get the table, hit the bookshelf there, and then I'm going to have this board hit the wall. So getting the table a little away from the wall is important. So you have the balance for the plywood sheet to be in the middle. And once that bottom BG is set, then I'm just going to get the top BG, which is a 4 by 4 feet. So I'm just going to check if it is fit well, and obviously you just can create a bit of slant, so you don't want this board to be falling on the cake. Okay, so now the back BG is quite set, and the 4 feet is quite enough for a tiered cake as well. Say suppose this light becomes a little difficult because it is too huge for you to set up, and if you're going to maybe stick with maybe a 2 feet tall or a 3 feet tall, then you have difficulty when you have to take pictures of a wedding cake. But if you are like going to be, I will maybe never do a wedding cake or a tall cake and a smaller space is enough, then maybe you could reduce this height to maybe a 3 feet tall. But when there is a need for wedding cake, obviously then it is like you can't be finding a newer spot, because now we are going to set up everything. Now once the back BG and the bottom BG is done, now the third thing, most important thing, is the reflector that I am going to now place and show to you. So I have the board for the reflector here. This is the same plywood board, the 6 mm one, which is white mica coated, and the one side of it is just the mica coat. The other side also has the mica sheet, but then what I have done here is stick the aluminum foil, the variations that I said we could use. Now the foil is going to reflect back a lot of light from the window. Now this is quite tall, and this much of reflection space is needed if you're going to work with a tall wedding cake. We could also have half of the size, because it could come in handy when you're going to work on with the smaller sized cake. Now if there is a half a size of it, which is like maybe a 2 by 2 square, is also good enough for a reflector when you're using a shorter cake. And if you're using for a taller cake, so you always need a tall reflector. Now how are we going to get the reflector? Stand on this, because it is going to be parallel to the window, so it could reflect back the light. Now I have these clips that are available easily. You could just buy it online as well, and I'm going to use them like a holder, so to make this plywood stand on its own without having to have a support at the back. Okay, so I'm just going to clip them, because it is quite tall. I just think 4 will be pretty much good. If it is a shorter one, 2 should be fine. So I'm just going to clip and then place them on the bottom board. Okay, so once this holder is in place, this is going to keep the reflector in place. So depending on how much space I want here, I can just place this reflector a little away or as close as I want, because when the light is falling from the window on the subject, which is the cake that is going to be here in the middle, you don't want the reflector to be like really far away. The position of the reflector is very important. At times when the light is falling and then you have a dark spot here on the front on the left side, because the reflector is just right parallel to the light surface, you might sometimes have to just tilt the reflector a bit, so you can have the light reflecting in the front of the cake as well and not just the side. So you might have to adjust the position of the reflector, making sure while taking the photo how the lighting is and where the dark spot is and where is that gray side, and you have to lit up that side of the cake using the reflector. Now with this we have just set up the stage, and let's move on to the next lesson.